Hey folks, I'm Chris and I'm your Commander Mechanic. Backgrounds are coming out in Battle for Baldur's Gate, and there's still a bit of confusion about how they work. I recently posted a short, linked up top, about them specifically, but there are some really fun ways to use them that I wanted to talk about. Some cool builds, fun interactions, and combos too. First, a crash course in backgrounds. Backgrounds are all mono-colored legendary enchantments that grant abilities to your commanders. They're an integral part of the draft environment for Battle for Baldur's Gate, as they pair with any commander that has Choose a Background on it to form a two-color pairing. That's right, if you have a Choose a Background commander, it works a lot like Partner, in that the background lives in the command zone, can be recast from the command zone with the appropriate commander tax, and counts as having a commander in play for cards like Fierce Guardianship. The only way a background can be in your command zone is if you have a commander with Choose a Background. Otherwise, they can live in the 99 as a regular enchantment. And that's where things can really get wild. Yes, mix and matching backgrounds and Choose a Background commanders can get pretty cool, but there's something special about backgrounds in the 99, or rather 98, of some decks. Each background applies its bonuses to all commander creatures you own, which means in the 99 of a deck with partners at the helm, you double up on benefits. And that's what I wanted to explore. What applications can this have to existing decks in Commander? Here's just a few examples. Master Chef is a green background that's focused on +1/+1 counters. It reads, commander creatures you own have this creature enters the battlefield with an additional +1/+1 counter on it, and other creatures you control enter the battlefield with an additional +1/+1 counter on them. This is stellar in any +1/+1 counter focused deck. Mono green lists like Rishkar Pima Renegade or Kodama of the West Tree love this in the 99, as it enables their shenanigans on themselves and other creatures. But in the 98 of a deck with partners at the helm, like Peer and Toothy for instance, this immediately ratchets up value with a counter increaser in the command zone and a draw engine that cares about counters. We could take this a step further with Rayhan Last of the Abzan deck with partner Ishai Ojutai Dragonspeaker, both creatures with +1/+1 counter themes. Having Rayhan be able to move those counters around when other creatures die seems really good. Not only that, but let's talk about combo enabling. There's a great infinite combo line using Grumgully the Generous, Blasting Station, and any creature with Persist. Grumgully reads much like Master Chef, putting a +1/+1 counter on other creatures when they enter the battlefield, which is the core of this combo. You see, when we sacrifice a Persist creature to Blasting Station, it comes back into play with a -1/-1 counter, untapping the Blasting Station, and Grumgully puts a +1/+1 counter on the creature, negating the -1/-1 counter, allowing us to repeat the loop. The downside with the deck is that the pieces are hard to tutor up in red and green. With an artifact and only about 4 creatures with Persist in this color identity, it makes the combo efficient and explosive but not very consistent. Now, however, Master Chef can turn your commanders into Grumgullies. You can have a 4-color deck that does the same combo now, with added benefits. Like with Rayhan as one of your commanders, you could be moving any leftover or additional counters onto other creatures you control just in case someone tries to stop your combo. Move any additional counters from a Rendclaw Trow onto a Fathom Mage and start bulking up your hand. Now, speaking of enabling some shenanigans, how many of you have played an Aristocrats deck without an Aristocrat effect in the command zone? I'm talking Teysa Karlov, Athreos God of Passage, or even the new Ziatora the Incinerator. Commanders that enable part of the strategy, but aren't the payoffs for the strategy. Well, now we have Agent of the Iron Throne, a 3-mana black background that reads commander creatures you own have, whenever an artifact or creature you control is put into a graveyard from the battlefield, each opponent loses 1 life. With this background in the 99 of your deck, you don't need to worry about protecting a Blood Artist, Zulaport Cutthroat, or Cruel Celebrant, because your commander can be your Aristocrat payoff. While your commander might not survive through a board wipe, the background will, so recasting your commander gives you both enabler and payoff all in one creature. This goes a step further too, as Agent of the Iron Throne cares about artifacts you control going to the graveyard, meaning treasures count. If you want redundancy for a Marionette Master or a Nadir's Nightblade, this background can turn your commander into a win con consistently. Pretty slick. Next up, we have this Street Urchin background. This one's pretty unassuming at first, giving all commander creatures you own 1. Sacrifice another creature or artifact. This creature deals 1 damage to any target. We've seen this effect on Makeshift Munitions, except Makeshift Munitions doesn't put the effect on creatures. Street Urchin, in a deck with a Death Touch creature as a commander, like Kelson the Plague, can ping down creatures and continue to grow over and over. Or, even better, take a look at Malcolm Keen-Eyed Navigator. He reads, whenever 1 or more pirates you control deal damage to your opponents, make a treasure token for each opponent dealt damage. Note that that does not say combat damage. So if we give the Street Urchin background to Malcolm, every time we activate it, we make a treasure. That pays for the activation of the ability each turn, so how do we get more fodder to sacrifice? Well, if we add any effect that doubles treasures like a Zorn, we can get these 3 cards to go infinite, pinging down opponents 1 damage at a time. We could use Academy Manufactor to the same effect, sacrificing the food or clue we make and using treasures to activate the ability. Or any token doubler works here too, like Anointed Procession, Parallel Lives, or Doubling Season. The possibilities are very, very flexible, and this package fits nicely into some existing shells, even at higher powered tables. This is one background to keep your eyes on. Speaking of flexibility and versatility, the background Sword Coast Sailor is very interesting. It's an efficient 2-mana background that reads commander creatures you own have, whenever this creature attacks a player, if no opponent has more life than that player, this creature can't be blocked this turn. This is Wizards' fixed version of Dethrone, caring only about opponents' life totals rather than all players' life totals, and triggers to make your commander unblockable. This has massive implications in any deck with blue in the color identity that wants to deal commander damage. Think of a deck with Galea, Kindler of Hope at the helm, or Tuvasa the Sunlit, or Rafik of the Many. These decks want to get in for commander damage and often have a tough time finding evasion, until now. As long as you go around the table picking on the player with the highest life total, you've got nothing to worry about, and can guarantee any on-damage triggers. In fact, a deck like Yuriko the Tiger Shadow would love this background in the 99, ensuring Yuriko can harmlessly attack every turn and trigger the on-damage ability of ninjas. Or how about a deck with Ishai Ojutai Dragon Speaker that wants to get in for big punchies? If your opponents can continually chump block with flyers, you won't get far, unless your commander can become unblockable. I think this background has some pretty widespread applications both now and for future commanders that want to get in some combat damage. Keep an eye on this one too. Lastly, we have one of my favorite backgrounds, Raised by Giants. This 6-mana background gives all commander creatures you own a base power and toughness 10/10 and makes them giants in addition to their normal types. This is a fun background. Making commanders have a big body is fantastic because there are several commanders that care about their power or the amount of damage they deal. Look at Helana and Elena Partners, for instance. These two put X counters on another creature you control, where X is their power, at the beginning of your combat step, while also granting that creature haste. Imagine if that were 10 counters every turn. How long would opponents last under that kind of onslaught? One of my favorite potential applications of this is in a partner deck with Tana the Bloodsower and Kedis Emberclaw Familiar at the helm. Tana is a 2/2 with trample that makes you saprolings equal to the amount of damage she deals to an opponent, so why not try and make her a 10/10? On top of that, her partner Kedis deals damage to each other opponent equal to the amount of damage dealt to an opponent by your commanders. Having two 10/10 commanders that can be swinging around dealing damage to each opponent and making a boatload of saprolings, this sounds like a great time to me. In fact, I've worked to put together a deck around this concept, linked in the description below, all about bulking up your partners and getting them to punch in for damage to the table. It includes a healthy dose of equipment like the Swords of X and Y, and redundancy for Raised by Giants with Giant's Belt. Having innate trample on Tana means we basically just have to care about making her power larger by any means necessary. And once we start dealing that damage, let's get as far with it as possible. Making a ton of saprolings means we'll have a lot of little bodies and a lot of enters the battlefield triggers. Impact Tremors, Perforos God of the Forge, or the new Devilish Valet would all benefit from these triggers stacking up. With the Valet, if we can give Tana First Strike or Double Strike, we could be getting these triggers before the Valet deals his damage, leading to some ridiculous exponential damage. We could then finish off the game by throwing our massive commanders at opponents with fling effects too. Punch in, go tall, go wide, and some reach with direct damage? Sounds like this deck can do it all. And you can check out the deck list linked in the description below by checking out my sponsor Moxfield, the best deck building platform in the world. I could not brew the dozens of decks I come up with on a regular basis without their easy to use tools for creating, organizing, and sorting decks. Visual grids, extensive playtesting tools, and accurate pricing details help me bring you hot new brews weekly. Check out my Moxfield profile for all my decks and follow me for more regular updates. So backgrounds are really like partners, but only for a select few commanders from Battle for Baldur's Gate. Otherwise, they fit in the 99 of your decks just like a regular enchantment would. And there are several reasons why you'd want to bestow their effects on multiple commanders. These customize your commander enchantments, help give consistent, hard to remove effects to your most consistently available creatures. Very handy. Let me know what you think about backgrounds in the comments below. Do you have any decks that you're going to be slotting these into? What's the coolest thing you can think of doing with these new resources? And of course, as always folks, good luck and have fun.